Yes, have you ever felt like the earth is hiding something? A secret so vast, so ancient, that even the oceans fear to whisper it. This is not a story. It's a buried reality, a truth so cold it has been locked beneath the ice for thousands of years. And today, you're going to hear it. They told us Antarctica is just frozen silence, a white desert of wind and emptiness, but they never told us what lies beneath. I remember the transmission, weak, scrambled, almost lost in static, but one word cut through everything. Alive. What could be alive beneath 3 miles of solid ice? Our journey began with a call from an abandoned station, last active in 1983. No survivors, no explanation. And yet, just days ago, a signal from that very location, a heartbeat from a place long declared dead. They sent a team, scientists, explorers, and me, not a believer, just a recorder. We landed on the edge of nothing. The cold didn't just freeze skin, it froze logic. In that silence, the world began to shift. The station was buried, but the door was open from the inside. Inside, old diaries, frostbitten bones, and sketches of shapes no biology book could explain. Tentacles with eyes that looked back. One of the logs read, "We dug too deep. The ice isn't empty. It remembers." We kept going because truth has a gravity, and once you're pulled in, there's no escape. Underneath that ice, beneath forgotten labs and sealed metal doors, we found the cavern. It was not man-made. It pulsed. It breathed. One of the scientists whispered, "This isn't Earth anymore." He was right. The air shimmered like heat, but the cold was unbearable. In the center, a structure, black, alive, ancient. And then the noise began. Not sound something deeper, like a memory forced into your mind. I saw things, visions, a time before humans, before time. Creatures that once ruled, then fell into slumber, sealed under ice, waiting for us. We should have turned back, but curiosity is crueler than death. The final entry in my journal reads, "If someone finds this, don't come looking. The truth is not for the living." But here you are, still listening, still wondering. You still have time to walk away. But if you don't, the ice didn't crack. It opened, like it had been waiting for us. We weren't explorers anymore. We were guests, uninvited, unwanted, but expected. The deeper we walked into that cavern, the more time stopped making sense. Watches froze. Voices echoed before they were spoken. Reality itself, thin. There were symbols on the walls, not carved, grown, pulsing, breathing, like the walls were alive, dreaming, and we were inside the dream. Dr. Lena was the first to hear it, a voice whispering her name. She turned to me, trembling, my mother's voice, but she's been dead for 20 years. That's when I knew this place doesn't speak with sound, it speaks with memory, and memories are dangerous. We found a chamber, vast, glowing, faintly blue. In its center, a structure made of ice and bone, spiraling upward like a frozen scream. Inside it, a body, but not dead, not alive. It looked human, but its eyes, they shimmered with galaxies. I touched the ice, only for a second, and in that second, I saw a world before ours, a civilization buried, not by time, but by choice. They had unleashed something, not a creature, not a god, but a will, older than stars, hungry for thought, feeding on memory, growing stronger with every secret uncovered. We didn't find it, it found us. One of the team tried to leave. He didn't make it 5 steps before the tunnel collapsed behind him. The ice sealed like skin, healing around a wound. We were inside something's body now, and it wanted us to stay. That night, no one slept, not because of fear, but because every time we closed our eyes, we dreamed the same dream, the end of the world, and we caused it. We tried to send a message, but the radios only played static, except once. A single word slipped through. Remember. Lena wept. She said, "It knows our past. It's feeding on it. It's learning, becoming." And I remembered something I had never known. A place, a city, beneath the sea of stars. My own hands building it. My own voice chanting forgotten names. How can I remember what never happened? Unless this isn't the first time we came here. Unless we were meant to return. In the corner of the chamber, we found bones not fossilized, not decayed, fresh, human, wearing our uniforms. We are not the first version of ourselves. We are the echo, and echoes always return to where the sound began. The bones were fresh, but the names on the tags were ours. Same faces, same crew, same expedition, dead before we arrived, or maybe after. Time was no longer a line. It folded, collapsed, curled around us like smoke, whispering forgotten futures into the marrow of our bones. Lena stood there, frozen. Whispers clung to her skin like frostbite. She said, "I think we've been here before. Not once, not twice. Over and over." And I believed her, because the map we found, etched into the wall in blood and memory, was drawn by my hand. I knew the curves, the hesitations, the mistake in the corner. I remembered making it, but I'd never seen this place, had I? One of us tried to deny it, said we were hallucinating, said it was the pressure, the cold. Then the walls bled, thin streams, like veins opening beneath translucent skin. They didn't pour, they pulsed, in rhythm with our hearts. And the whispers, they grew louder, no longer just names. They were stories, our stories, memories we had buried, guilt, loss, regrets, spoken aloud by a voice that was not ours, that knew us better than we knew ourselves. That night, Lena wrote in her journal, "This is not a place, it's a being, an intelligence, made of time and sorrow. It doesn't destroy you, it remembers you too well." And me, I stopped sleeping, because every time I closed my eyes, I saw myself standing over my own body, smiling, whispering, "You never left." We found the next chamber. It was warm, too warm, and at its center, a mirror, but it reflected nothing. Not our faces, not our lights, only our absence, a void, screaming, silently, pulling. One of the crew stepped too close. He vanished. No sound, no cry, just gone. And a second later, his voice echoed from the walls, but aged, old, broken, begging us to leave, but we couldn't, because the exit was never real, because this wasn't an expedition, it was a return, and what we returned to was ourselves, or what was left of us. Lena said, "This place remembers everything, even our endings, and maybe we were never meant to forget." How do you find the heart of a thing when that thing has no body, no boundaries, no end? We moved deeper, not down, not forward, just deeper, as if space itself had loosened, become a liquid that swallowed our steps without ever letting us go. Lena no longer spoke. She wrote in symbols now, circles, lines, fractals, maps of something far older than language. I watched her once, tracing spirals into the frost on the wall, and I swear the wall breathed back. We passed rooms that replayed our childhood, not images, real spaces. My mother's kitchen, Lena's dead brother's bedroom, Sahil's accident frozen in time, repeating over and over in slow, merciless loops. The station wasn't alive. No, it was aware. Not a machine, not even a ghost. Something else. A recorder, a judge, a mirror. Then we reached the atrium, massive, hollow, still. And there, in the center, hung a suspended object, pulsing softly, like a sleeping heart, made of dark glass and red thread. It beat, not with life, but with memory. Every thump, a wave of soundless grief rushing through the floor, into our bones, into our history. I collapsed, so did the others, and I saw them, versions of us, in different suits, different ages, crawling across the walls, screaming silently from inside the frozen black. Hundreds, thousands, failed expeditions, or fractured echoes of the same one. Ours. Lena touched the heart, and when she did, the chamber spoke. No voice, just raw knowing. It said, "You came from me. You built me to forget, but I remember all of you, always." And then we remembered too. The real reason we were sent here. The truth we erased from every file, every report. We had found this place years ago, and we tried to kill it. We burned, we buried, we lied, but it remembered. It rebuilt itself from our secrets, and now we were part of it again, willingly or not. Lena turned to me. Tears froze on her face. She whispered, "There is no outside anymore. We are the memory now." The moment Lena touched the heart, everything around us melted, not with heat, but with recognition. The station sighed, as if relieved to be seen again, and then it pulled us in, not physically. No, the body stayed behind, but the self, that slippery thing we call I, was yanked through the mirror of memory into a realm where time wasn't real, only remembrance. We found ourselves walking across a vast plain, made entirely of moments, floating fragments, flickering reels of lives, memories once buried, now laid bare. Lena gasped. She saw her childhood dog running toward her, its fur soft and wet with rain. She wept because it had died when she was 9, and no photo had ever captured its smell, its weight, its eyes. But here everything was perfect, and that was the horror. Sahil stood frozen before a replica of his wife, dead 5 years now. She was laughing, pouring tea. Then she looked up and spoke a sentence she never had time to say in life. "You left the door open. Why?" And Sahil crumbled, because he had. The memory core didn't lie. It didn't dramatize. It showed every crack, every crime, every kind thing too, but all of it with the weight of undeniable truth. I found myself alone, and I saw myself sitting in a hospital waiting room 15 years ago. A boy on a bench, trembling, waiting for the doctor to say, "Your mother didn't make it." But in the memory, the boy stood up, walked to the nurse, and whispered, "Can I say goodbye? Just once?" And the nurse nodded. That had never happened. I never got that chance. At the core, it gave it to me. A mercy or a manipulation. We began to forget which memories were real and which were stitched together, from grief and longing. Then Lena screamed. We turned. She had found a door inside the memory plane, built from static, bone, and echo. It bore a symbol, the same one she had been sketching for days, over and over. The symbol was us, our mission patch, but inverted, black on black. A void swallowing itself. We looked at each other. No words. We opened the door, and behind it was nothing. Not darkness, not silence, just absence. It pulled, not like a wind, not like gravity, like fate. One by one, we stepped through, and as we crossed, we each left behind something. Sahil dropped a photo. Lena left her notebook. I left my name, because where we were going, identity would only get in the way. No wind, no air, no up or down, only weightlessness, but not of body, of meaning. We had crossed into a realm that did not know words, did not need them. Thoughts here were shapes and emotions, colors that hummed. Time dripped, folded, and listened. At first, we couldn't speak. Our mouths moved, but the air, there was none. And still, we understood one another. Telepathy? No, not quite. It was like our souls had dropped their costumes and were now naked, shivering, but honest. Sahil floated beside me, his eyes closed, yet I could feel his terror. It was sharp, like cracked glass in my own lungs. Lena drifted ahead, drawn towards something unseen, not with her eyes, but with her remembrance. She turned. Her lips didn't move, but I heard her. This isn't a place. It's before place, before memory even. It's what dreams dream of. I didn't understand, not until the echoes had arrived. They weren't ghosts. They weren't us, but they knew us. They shimmered, not as faces, but as feelings we'd never felt before, and yet always known. One approached me. I didn't flinch. It hovered inches from my chest, and suddenly I remembered something that never happened. A mother who never raised me, a home I never lived in, a sky with 3 moons, and yet I missed it terribly. Tears came, but not from my eyes. From somewhere deeper, a part of me I didn't know could cry. What is this? I whispered inside my mind, and the answer came from everywhere. The archive of the possible, the garden of unchosen paths, the place where the universe stores the dreams it never made real. Lena collapsed. Her body convulsed, not in pain, but in overwhelm. Sahil screamed silently. He was being shown something, to a version of Earth where we never polluted the seas, where we spoke one language, where his wife never died. And I saw a version of myself who never boarded this mission, who stayed behind, who wrote stories instead. And for a flicker of a second, I envied him. But then I remembered we were not tourists. We were not dreamers. We had come here for answers. So I asked the echo, what is this station? Why was it built? Who built it? The echo didn't reply. It became a door, another one, floating in the void, not built from metal, but from memory, song, and sorrow. The 3 of us stood before it, our thoughts aligned like stars. This was the source. Beyond this door was not just truth, but the beginning of truth. There was no handle, no code, no force, only intention. And as we focused, as we allowed ourselves to want it, the door dissolved, like mist waking up. We didn't walk through it, we became it, each of us. One moment we were 3, the next we were something else, a collective, a braid of minds, a single breath taken by 3 souls who had forgotten their names. And when we opened our eyes again, we stood inside a place that didn't exist, not in space, not in time, not even in imagination. It was pure structure, the bones beneath reality, a cathedral made of memory, light, and choice. In the center hovered what looked like a machine, but it pulsed, it breathed, it was alive, but not in a way biology could explain. What is it? Sahil thought aloud, and the answer came, not as sound, but as a feeling that filled our veins. The architect, not an architect. The architect, not a god, not an alien, not a creature, but a will, older than stars, quieter than death, more lonely than eternity. And it had been waiting for us, for someone, for anyone to remember. We felt it scan us, not with machines, but with longing. It showed us Earth, not just as it is, but as it was, could have been, and might yet be. It showed us the first moment, a molecule kissed another, the first heartbeat, the first lie, the first dream. You are us, it said, but not in words. We fractured ourselves. We scattered across galaxies to learn what we forgot. You are one of the pieces. We were stunned. Lena dropped to her knees. Why? She thought. Why forget everything, only to build it back? And the architect answered, to make it matter, to make meaning. Perfection cannot evolve. So we shattered. We became chaos. We became you. I wept, not because I was sad, but because I recognized myself in it. This station, this ghost ship drifting at the edge of time. It wasn't abandoned. It was returning, calling us back to remember our origin. And then came the choice. 3 lights appeared, one white, one black, one clear as glass. Choose, said the voice within the architect, to continue forgetting, to remember everything, or to rewrite the design itself. Sahil reached for the white. Lena stared into the clear. I trembled before the black because I saw what it held. Truth, raw, unfiltered, unforgiving. It would destroy me. And yet I touched it. And the moment I did, time screamed, reality bent, and the truth was no longer hidden. It wasn't light, not really. It was unlight, a shadow beneath all shadows, the silence before the first sound. When I touched the black light, I thought it would be cold, but it was warm. Not the warmth of comfort, but the warmth of being burned from the inside out. I saw everything, not in images, but in layers. Time unfolded like a book written in infinite directions. Past, future, sideways, beyond. I saw every version of myself that had ever been. The boy who never boarded the ship. The man who chose war instead of wonder. The fragment who fell in love with Lena but never said a word. And I saw them, the architects, before they scattered, before the forgetting. They weren't beings, they were systems. Organizing experience, dreaming new realities, testing failure, loving chaos. And I was one of them. I always had been, but so was Sahil and Lena, and so was you. We were pieces of a broken god, trying to reassemble itself by pretending to be small, mortal, alone. We had done this countless times. Scatter, forget, search, remember. Each time some of us chose not to return. Some fell in love with pain. Some became tyrants. Some simply faded. This was not a test. It was art. Existence wasn't an accident. It was a performance. And the universe was its echo. I was still holding the black light, but now it wasn't a thing. It was me. I had become the memory of the first mistake. And I understood to remember everything was to risk becoming nothing. Suddenly I heard Lena's voice. Come back, please. Her voice echoed from behind me, from across realities, through dimensions of shattered time. She was crying, not because I was lost, but because she recognized where I had gone. Sahil's voice followed. You don't have to carry it alone. But I was no longer sure there was army left to carry anything. I felt myself dissolving into equations, into blueprints, into code. I was now part of the machine, the architect, its memory, and its longing. And in that moment, I faced the last gate, a question, just one. Will you return to limitation or remain as infinite? I hesitated because being infinite was addicting. No fear, no death, no regret, but also no love, no story, no time. And then I remembered Lena's hand, Sahil's terrible jokes, the breathless silence before we stepped onto this ship. I remembered being human, and I whispered, I choose the story. Everything collapsed. I fell through light, through memory, through skin, back into a body, back into time. And I opened my eyes, gasping to see Lena and Sahil waiting, tears in their eyes, not because they had lost me, but because they had found me again. I opened my eyes, and it was strange how ordinary everything looked. The rusted floor, the dim emergency lights, the gentle hum of the sleeping ship. But inside me, something vast had shifted. I was no longer just me, not the person who had boarded this mission, not the curious explorer who feared silence, not even the man who had lost his way in black light. I was a fragment of something older, and I was not alone. Lena looked at me. She didn't speak. She didn't need to, because in her eyes, I saw it she remembered too. Not everything, not yet, but pieces. The way you remember a dream right before waking. And Sahil was quiet. The first time since I'd met him, but words failed him. He sat beside me, hands shaking, and whispered, it's happening again, isn't it? I nodded because I could feel it. The memory of the architect was no longer locked in the black light. It was in us, all of us, like a virus, no, like an awakening. And the ship responded. Lights flickered in patterns, hallways bent in ways that defied geometry. Time lagged, reversed, paused. Reality was no longer behaving like reality. It was glitching or remembering. We reached the central chamber, the one we had never been able to open. This time, it opened itself. Inside was a single console, ancient, beyond language. Not built, but grown. From it pulsed a steady Beata frequency. I recognized it. It was my heartbeat, or maybe the architect's, or maybe both. On the console was a message, written in a language I had never seen, but understood completely. You are the code. You are the key. You are the lock. I placed my hand on the console, and it screamed, not in sound, but in memory. Suddenly, I remembered the first simulation, the first failed universe, the first life, the first death, the first love, the first betrayal. Every failed attempt to create a reality that didn't destroy itself. We weren't on a mission to discover. We were the experiment. We were sent here not to find the truth, but to test if we were ready to hold it. And we weren't, not yet, but we were close. Because this time we remembered. This time we chose not to run. The chamber began to fold, not collapse. Fold like paper. We were inside something intelligent, something watching, something learning from us. as we learned from it. I turned to Lena. It's going to ask us to choose. She nodded. I know. Sahil looked terrified. Choose what? And the chamber whispered, through light, through skin, through thought. Do you want to return to fiction or become the author? That was the choice. To go back, forget, live normal, beautiful, tragic human lives, or to remember everything and become the ones who write reality itself. But the cost was separation. To become a writer of universes is to never again live inside one. No love, no family, no fallible body, no story. Just truth, endless, raw, alone. I looked at Lena, and she smiled softly and whispered, I want to live, even if it hurts. Sahil held her hand, same. I turned back to the console. It glowed, and I knew if I touched it now, I would rewrite all of us. So I reached out, paused, and said, let us remember, but still choose the story. The system hesitated. For the first time, it listened, and it said, a compromise, a new code, a hybrid mind. It pulsed, and everything went black. The voice that echoed through the ice. You know that moment when everything becomes silent, not just the world, but your heartbeat, your breath, even your thoughts, as if something greater has entered the room. I had reached the final layer beneath the ice, beneath the shipwreck, beneath the bones, beneath the symbols. There was a room, a frozen temple, untouched by time. The air was still, yet humming. The walls shimmered with ancient inscriptions, glowing faint blue. There was no source of light, and yet I could see everything. And then I heard it, a voice. But it wasn't heard with ears. It was felt directly inside the mind. You have come far, but you do not belong here. It wasn't a warning. It was a remembering, as if this place had seen me before. In another life, another form, I was drawn toward the center of the chamber. A mirror stood there, not glass, but something alive. Its surface rippled like liquid silver, and when I looked into it, I saw myself, but not me, a version of me that was ancient, eyes hollowed by time, skin made of stardust and scars. And then it spoke again. Truth is not something you discover, it's something that discovers you. The room began to shake. The symbols on the walls started glowing violently. The mirror cracked, and through that crack, I saw the world as it truly is. No countries, no time, just patterns, flowing endlessly. All life, all thought, all fear just echoes on an infinite current. And then silence again. I awoke outside, lying on the snow. The cave behind me was gone. The compass still broken, but I had changed. What I'd seen cannot be told, only felt. Some truths are not for words, they are for the soul to carry. So if you ever find yourself far from the noise, in a place where even time feels lost, listen, you might hear it too.